That's all you deserve.
What's happening bloody leech!
More and more of these bloody leeches every night. Aye, but the guards recruit more and more every year.
When did you join the guard? 2 days ago. This is my first time proper meet. 1 year I know it.
Better go home, sir.
It's not a place for you, sir.
Turn around.
Die, leech!
Leeches every night.
Yeah!
Christ! He's dead! Die, vermin!
Whitechapel. This neighborhood is linked somehow to the kind Lady Ashbury's blackmail. First, let's find this Petrescu fellow.
these lads. Fuck you all! Fuck it all! Stop it now, Albert, stop it!
I won't end up another drunk arse living in the streets. Not me.
What? Shooting a boy in the middle of the street. Not the best thing to do, wouldn't you say?
What? You saw what happened? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you promise me to set your gun aside.
No. Look, I'm not a violent man. I'm Benjamin Palmer, doctor. And no one can help me. Not even you.
What can you tell me?
Nothing to say, really. This is where I used to live, and this is where I live now.
You don't have anywhere to...
Not since the death of my wife, Albert's mother. She was sick, you see. Long before the flu and all this shit.
You mean you used to have a better life?
Yeah, I had a wife, a home, and a job. I even used to have a name. Now I'm just Ben. Ben the Tramp.
Perhaps you could focus for a moment and tell me your troubles.
I'm sick, broke, and my son just stole my pills. Everything's coming up roses.
Whatever the boy did, I'm sure he didn't deserve a public execution.
I swear I didn't want to hit him. It's just that I'm sick in the head, you see, and the boy just frayed me last nerve.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? Have you heard anything?
It's funny, I've been searching for her too. I need some pills. But the woman is a phantom, if you ask me.
Really? And why is that?
Word is she ain't real. She's a cover for some doctor who runs an illegal dispensary for migrants.
I have found a very interesting letter. Your son planned to prove his worth to the gang by stealing your medicine.
Oh, I see. So the little bugger thought he could use his dad to build a reputation.
The gang's recruiter was dead when I found him. Perhaps you should take better care of your son.
I love my Albert, sir. Believe me. It's just... well, I'm an arsehole, I suppose. Anyway, thanks for the letter. This is for your trouble.
A gun, alcohol, and a bad temper make a terrible couple.
The wet boots will be proud of me.
Are you all right?
The bastard hit the wall next to me. I don't even know if he meant to miss.
If you've been hurt, I can help you. I'm a doctor.
Name's Albert. Remember it. Now bugger off.
What happened? Did you really steal that man's medication?
Hey, I didn't do anything. It ain't me.
Yes, you did. And it was cowardly and inexcusable.
Sod off, mister. You ain't got no clue what's going on here. Bastard was a soldier in the war, so now he's got the right to shoot me.
It's true. I'm not familiar with this part of town. Perhaps you could help me.
I said sod off. Go find yourself another guide.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy?
Never heard of her. She's pretty, I'll keep an eye out.
Goodbye, young man.
I won't end up another drunk arse.
How are you, boy?
I'm not your boy, all right? Now,
Goodbye, young man.
the wet boots will be proud of me.
Hold on. Find some piss-stinking alley where he can worse than a week.
Good evening, Benjamin.
I'm afraid...
A gun out.
Its effectiveness has been proven by many.
Good evening, miss.
Good evening, sir. Are you interested in a miraculous cure for this unknown and deadly epidemic?
Actually, I am.
Then you have come to the right place. The famous Swanborough cordial is all you need to help keep you in perfect health.
Oh, really? Why didn't I hear about it during my studies? I'm Jonathan Reed, by the way. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Ah, my brother has spoken of your research, sir. I'm Loretta Swanborough, and it's always a pleasure to meet a fellow healer.
Tell me.
The region itself is something to see, but I would say Camellia the mute florist who gives away her flowers.
What do you think?
Most of them are afraid or desperate. They all come to me eventually for my remedy.
Is there anyone I should...
Cadogan Bates, without a doubt. The bloody bastard remorselessly exploits poor migrants as soon as they get here.
Do you know...
I don't like to talk about competition.
Competition, you say?
Never met her, but it seems she provides some sort of medical care to the poor. The whole thing has to be some sort of scam, if you ask me.
I'd like to see what kind...
Everything would be better.
Hello, young man. I'm Dr. Reed.
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me then? Okay then. Come on in. I'm a Harry, by the way.
Even my dreams are soaked with gloom.
So,
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
how do you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine. I'm just tired of being sick all the time. If only I could be tough like... Well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is an idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place. It was my father's decision. And look around you. Does this look like a nice place to live?
You have a roof over your head? A place...
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got. I wasn't even consulted when we moved here.
If life here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
I don't go outside. It terrifies me so. I went outside once without my father noticing and I saw terrible things. Bloody and frightening things.
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the epidemic?
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Dr. Reed. It's the living I'm afraid of.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the...
Yes, I know her. She came here to examine me when I was very sick. She said I should go out more.
Goodbye, young man.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world? Even my dreams are soaked with gloom. Is there only pain and suffering in this world? Is there only pain and suffering?
It's locked.
Is there only pain?
Cheap price, good quality. You will all be judged for your sins. You're late. Where's my
Welcome,
money?
sir. Please, take a browse of my wares.
I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
How is
Business? I have no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
Well, you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Violence?
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came out of one of the condemned workshops. Fever, madness, something like that.
Where did this happen? Why did you go there?
In the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice in better days. Now I only go to find trinkets or tools. Too bad I was mugged, though. There was good money in that little box of loot I lost.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those men were raving lunatics, I tell you. Not even able to speak anymore, just screaming.
Have you heard of a nurse?
Nurse Crane? So the bitch really is a nurse, then? Always thought she was just some crafty foreigner, that one.
Yes. Those bloody immigrants should know their place, eh? How dare they do a better job than the lazy natives of this land?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England fleeing the war, I was told.
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious Nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
Right then.
What do you want?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now, goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical leaflet says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really... I must insist, sir. Please let me...
I have no...
It's locked.
Good evening, my dear.
Goodbye, Miss...
When science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Back in the grave!
I cannot enter. It's locked. It's locked, all right. I will return later. I cannot enter.
Even the flu is no match for the Swanborough cordial.
Good evening.
Goodbye, Miss Swan. Excuse me, sir.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
May I ask what...
I'll do whatever I want at some time.
According to you...
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation. Would you say it's justified?
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I've found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
You are a criminal who endorses criminal activity. The least you could do is stop hiding behind this pretense.
I don't care what you think, sir. I do what I have to do for my own reasons, and that's that.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your by all means necessary philosophy, sir.
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here? Barrett can be as sneaky as anyone. Long ago, I even called the bastard my best friend.
Harry doesn't seem happy living in Whitechapel. Why did you make him?
I've always put my son's interests above everything else, whatever he may think. Our house is small but affordable. The walls are thin, but the door is solid.
You really love your son, don't you, Mr. Peterson?
He's my pride and joy. Even if he hates me for the choices I make and pushes me buttons more than he should.
Since the criminal nature of your job means you could be arrested, are you not afraid of what would happen to your boy if you were?
No one will ever take my son away from me. If that ever occurred, I'd hunt the bastard down and rip off his head with my bare hands.
Do you have...
Only one. Not to have my beloved.
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her. One of the few good souls who dare to help the sick around here.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Goodbye, Mr. P. Good evening, Harry.
Sure. Is there only pain and suffering in this?
So,
I'm not bothered.
Your father and Mr. Lewis...
I was young then. I don't remember Mr. Lewis ever coming back again after my mother died. Or was it after my father started bullying him? I don't know.
Have you tried speaking to...
I don't go out often, but yes. And he scolded me and told me to leave him alone. I guess my father frightens him too much.
But you are not responsible for your father's actions.
Am I not? Dad always says that he joined that gang for my safety. So if I wasn't born, people wouldn't be worrying about Colossus Joe.
Goodbye, young man.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
There's nobody here.
It's locked, all right.
The Swanborough cordial can be the answer to all...
It's all a bloody joke to you, isn't it? Stealing
I won't end
drugs
up
from the
another
sick
drunk
and
arse
suffering.
in the streets. You know what I mean?
When science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Someday you'll...
Good evening, Benjamin.
I'm afraid not, Miss...
What is it?
The doctors called me a liar. A coward. Put me in a straitjacket, locked me up. Finally, they sent me back to the front lines with a handful of tablets.
Yes. Sounds like shell shock. I've seen a few cases like yours. This is nothing you should be ashamed of, Benjamin. And it's perfectly natural in your situation.
I'm not ashamed. I just need my pills. Peace and quiet, that's all.
A gun, How are you?
I'm not your...
Goodbye, young man.
I won't end up...
How are you?
I'm not your...
Goodbye, young man.
Me? I'll not die in some piss-stinking alley reeking worse than a week-old lad.
Its effectiveness has been proven by many. Even food is no match for the Swanborough cordial.
Joe, please, I don't have your money. Fancy buying something, sir?
You never lose your foe. Joe Peterson. He's the villain here, isn't he? But you seem to know each other.
I've known Joe for years. I saw him box once or twice. He was a friend then. But these days, he's just another thug.
What can you tell me about Miss...
Colossus Joe was a decent boxer, good one even. But after his wife passed away, he found every excuse to stop training. Just wanted to pick fights with everyone.
It's never easy to find a new path in life, especially after the loss of a loved one. But crime is certainly not the best option.
We've all had some rough times, ain't we? But most of us don't use our fists to see us through.
And no one has ever stood up to this thug.
Nobody would be fool enough to stand against a wet boot boy.
What do you know of Harry Peterson? The boy seems so fragile. Not like his father at all.
Harry's a good boy, but he spends most of his time complaining. He's had it tough, all right, but he needs to grow a pair.
What troubles him exactly?
Well, despite being his father's son, almost everything, I think. He never wanted to come to Whitechapel in the first place. Hates this place more than most of us.
Goodbye for now.
You again?
Goodbye, Mr. Peter.
Cheap price, good quality. Come on, take a look. Don't
Good
be
shot.
afraid.
Is there only pain that...
So,
I'm not bothered.
do you know...
Yes?
Goodbye, young man.
Even my dreams are soaked with glue. Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
What do you mean when you say that I am...
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences. And most of them can't see...
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you?
Well, I suppose I...
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Really?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Tell me, Tobias.
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened and purified by the flames.
Purification by fire has proved useful, but where do you stop? Burn the clothes? The buildings? The corpses? Worse?
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous. You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool?
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
I am. But the Have you any friend?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Where did you send?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
Do you know
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for...
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in her country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
I have heard enough that... Good evening, sir. I'm Dr.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nethercott.
May I ask what you're doing?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk. Though night talks are always preferable, if you ask me. Especially with strangers.
But are you not a...
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak...
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this...
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
If some...
Well, you, for a start, my dear Doctor.
I understand your need for solitude.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
What are your thoughts?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy, but the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
Peaceful? That's quite...
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them.
I'll leave you... Good evening, miss. I'm I know what you're thinking. A tall stranger who meets a girl in the street at night. It reeks of the penny dreadfuls. But I mean you no harm, truly. I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it? Very well.
Excuse me, sir. Are you familiar?
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan Reed.
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon. I'll gladly help if I'm able, sir.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish influenza? It's as though none of you care.
There's a war going on. People shouldn't be demoralized by news of deadly diseases.
It's a disgrace. People are left to die.
These are bad times indeed. So much for the glorious British Empire.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
That science...
I confess...
What is a journalist doing in this borough?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go, to inform the country.
So you risk your life?
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent...
Goodbye, Mr. Darby.
Don't be shy, handsome.
I'm not looking for what you're selling. But I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I may. I'm a doctor.
All right then, but be quick. Though I usually get paid when I open my mouth.
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London, and you could be exposed, or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals, but I don't like you asking questions.
Considering your line of work, I assure you it is only a matter of time before you have health issues.
If it is going to happen, it will happen. Right now, I need money. That's what's important.
You can put your own...
And you think that would worry me? If you knew the men I deal with, their health would not be what you'd worry about.
Clayton Darby claims he will expose the crisis in Whitechapel to all of London. Do you believe him?
I believe Clayton's courage will erode with time, until he finally leaves Whitechapel to start another fight somewhere else.
Why this?
How can you speak about starvation if you've never been hungry? Or about poverty? Or anything else you have never suffered from?
Are you talking?
I've seen your type come here to get a good fuck in a cheap room or a dark alley before going back to their fancy houses in the West End.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy?
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothea Crasionescu. She came from Romania like me and many others.
You seem to respect her.
Dorothea helps the sick people of Whitechapel.
Tell me about it.
Are you joking with me?
I have no interest in your work. I am, however, curious as to what led you in...
Short story. The war, exile, and England. This country is not especially welcoming. I've been refused many jobs because of where I am from. I had few options left.
Many people must deal with poverty.
And when exactly was the last time you looked for a job? Or worried about the rent, or what, or when you were going to eat?
Goodbye, miss.